We have all heard the expression, the eyes are the windows or mirror to our soul. When we look deep into someone else's eyes, we can often see the character of the other person, what kind of soul personality this person really has. Often we don't even need to look deeply into somebody's eyes. We can see it right away. We can see anything from vacancy, coldness, ruthlessness, hatefulness, anger, fearfulness, and sadness, to sweetness, compassion, happiness, and love. If we want to know who a person is, we can look into that person's eyes, and it gives us a fairly good guideline. With that said, eyes can of course shift depending on a person's current mood, but if we look deeper, we can still see through this and discover the true nature of that person's soul. In video 22, Misconceptions on Dimensions and Densities, we mainly discuss dimensions and densities in a way most people think of them, as something outside of ourselves. This is where our eyes come into the picture. We project our inner selves through our eyes to experience what we perceive to be the outer world, i.e., something that is separate from ourselves. In reality, this is an illusion, because there is nothing outside ourselves. All we do is to experience what is inside us, and we project that from our minds into the physical brain, which translates these images via our eyes into a common agreed upon reality that is all ever changing as we change inside. They say that the body is our temple, but the body is also our limitation. Let's think about it for a minute. We have our lenses, our eyes, which are the window between the metaphysical and the physical world. It is not thanks to our eyes that we can see the world around us. It's because of our eyes that we only can see a limited frequency range we call visible light, i.e. Lucifer's/Enki's matrix. Because of our eyes, we can only by design perceive this small frequency band. Compare that with certain animals that can see a much wider frequency band than we humans can. Moreover, our ears can normally only hear things within 20 to 20,000 hertz if you're a young person, while a dog can hear within the range of 67 to 45,000 hertz. A bat can hear up to 67 kilohertz. We make this comparison to prove our point as of how limited we really are within our bodies. Upon that, we learn that our soul, if the soul is even acknowledged, lives inside the body. With that belief, it becomes even harder to perceive something outside the five senses, because we are trapped inside our physical bodies and think we need to look out from inside in order to perceive anything at all. The soul is not located inside the body. That's one more lie. Another interesting thing is what happens if a person is born blind or gets blind during their lifetime. This person instead starts enhancing other senses, such as hearing and touch. Mainstream science, to a large degree, doesn't acknowledge extrasensory perceptions, ESP, as a real phenomenon. But aren't most blind people psychic compared to an average person? Why do blind people enhance their perceptions? Doesn't that prove that we humans are very limited to what we can perceive? And wouldn't it be reasonable to assume that even blind people are limited, although they sense more than us? What about the animals? Still, science and many ordinary people think that ESP is science fiction, not to even mention that there is a soul that can survive death. Logical thinking, thanks to education, is thrown out the window, and the majority of people on Earth rely on others to think for them. In the West Penry Papers Level 1, it was brought up how Life Physics Group California, LPGC, placed themselves in a water tank in complete darkness when they wanted to nano-travel. The water was regulated to the person's body temperature, and everything was pitch dark around them. After a while, they couldn't even feel their bodies, which resulted in that they were no longer limited by their body perceptions. Now, the perceptions of the higher mind took over, and nano-travel became relatively easy. Early remote viewers for the CIA, such as Joseph McMonigal, did something similar in the beginning when he remote viewed. If we think of this from a larger perspective, we have the Divine Feminine, aka Source, all that is, or God versus Goddess. If the Divine Feminine, DF, is all that is, as we understand it, then there is nothing outside of her. Subsequently, she divided herself into smaller units, and smaller units, and smaller units, etc., until we come down to the individual souls, who are you and I. Obviously, if the DF is all that is, she couldn't have created us outside herself. So we exist inside of her because there is no outside. There's nothing different when it comes to you and me. We are still her, but in smaller units, so there can't be anything outside us either. Therefore, our entire environment that we perceive with our 5 senses is inside of us, or even better, a part of us. We are therefore multidimensional beings in ourselves. Consequently, multidimensional does not mean that we can travel to places in other dimensions that are somewhere out there. Instead, the journey across the dimensions happens inside us. Whether we perceive interdimensional journeys as outside or inside is just a matter of perspective, but from an objective standpoint, the journeys happen inside. Ultimately, there is no such thing as space and time. They are just illusions and a part of the construct of a third-dimensional reality in which most souls in the universe spend their time exploring and experiencing. If we really boil it down, there is only a here and now, and there is no other place to travel than in our minds. This can be difficult for us humans to grasp with our limited perceptions, but is still evidently true and backed up by quantum and subquantum physics. The only place is here and now, and everything we perceive as alive, whether it's on this planet or in the universe at large, exists in the exact same place. The only thing that separates things is frequency/vibrations. Different frequencies create what we refer to as dimensions and densities. Again, review video 22 if necessary. For example, a sunflower vibrates differently from a daisy, and you vibrate slightly differently from me. A workable common analogy is a radio with its radio station. If the radio is the DF, all that is, the radio stations are the different dimensions and densities. When we turn the dial, we tune into another density or dimension, but it all seems to happen inside the radio, resulting in that a certain radio station broadcasts the frequency to our ears, the outer world, metaphorically speaking. The DF seemingly decided to create a playground for souls to operate in as one giant soul group, and we call this playground the third dimension. This giant soul group, which includes all souls in the universe slash Ka, then divided themselves into smaller soul groups, and so on, all the way down to the individual soul, you and I. All this was done in order for the DF to explore herself from different and separate perspectives. Souls in this universe were given free will to create as they pleased in order to experience the consequences of what they would create. Thus, the DF learned about cause and effect and what her potentials are in general. In order to be able to experience cause and effect, there must be some time in between the two for the cause to take effect, particularly as more separate parts of herself interacting with each other are present in the playground. She also needed to create an illusion of distance between two objects, so all objects could experience separation. Thus, the illusions of time and space were created. In fact, it's all a mind game. The souls don't go anywhere. Most people, I believe, who know we are a soul, think of the soul as being static, meaning that we exist independent from time and space. This is not true, except from the highest perspective we have knowledge and experience of, the DF. The DF is static. She exists independently from time and space. The DF just is. She just exists. She is not made of energy or any other substance or force. However, she has the ability to emit energy, and part of that energy is us, the souls in the universe. With this in mind, the soul is not the highest state of being, and this in some respect includes our oversoul and oversouls as well, if we think of it as a hierarchy of higher selves that split off like from the legs of an octopus. See my article The Death Trap and How to Avoid It on my website westpenry.com under articles for more information. It is still to be determined how many potential oversouls a soul might have, but we humans are the children of the Queen of Orion, i.e., we are her in splintered versions, which makes the Queen our collective oversoul. This is why Alex Collier, who claims to have been in contact with the so-called Andromedans, ponders what they meant by telling him we are a royal species. Dr. Borden and the LPGC ponder the same thing, as do others. This is why we are children of the Queen. In the WPP, I explained that there are weapons that can dissolve the soul/avatar. What happens in these instances is that these weapons split the group of trillions of fires that compose the individual soul avatar into pieces, and these pieces have no chance to regroup unless they get help. A soul who is the target for this will therefore go back to become one with the universal energy again. In such a circumstance, we literally become one with Source, like so many New Agers talk about that they want to achieve. This can be done because the soul/fire composite consists of small bioelectrical fire fragments, which in turn is energy. Energy can be transformed, and thus can the soul be transformed into something else. As being discussed in a lot of places elsewhere, the human soul group is trapped in a small frequency band we call visible light. In reality, we are just trapped in our own mind. Visible light is a range of densities within the third dimension. We have been taught and manipulated for eons that this is the only range we humans can perceive, when in fact it's not even the entire 3D, only a very small percentage of it. The other densities within the third dimension have been inaccessible to us because of the beliefs we have adopted by the AIF overlords. In fact, as sovereign fire composites of the Queen, and in the extension, the DF herself, we have access to all dimensions in the Ka. We access them by going inside our minds and experience them. Once we've seen through the lies that keep us stuck with only 5 senses, we begin to experience phenomena that are connected with our other inner dimensions we previously thought we didn't have access to. Interestingly enough, all humans access other dimensions on a daily basis without realizing that this is what they do. We get insights, spontaneous ideas, and we make decisions that seem unusual for us. We are in these instances connected to a higher aspect of ourselves. Intuition is always a higher aspect of self, and is mainly not coming from the five senses. What happens when we have an out-of-body experience, OBE? Do we really go out there and explore, or do we actually go inside? We go inside, but we experience it as outside, in the common playground. We say that we go into the so-called astral when we leave our bodies, but what is the astral? Those of us who have looked into the metaphysical aspects of ourselves might say that the astral is hijacked by the AIF and is a part of the construct we call the Matrix. Although this is true on one level, it is not true from a higher perspective. The astral is only hijacked as long as we let it. If we go out there in the astral realms with the mindset that it's dangerous territory because that's where the AIF and other uncomfortable creatures exist, we fool ourselves. Energy flows where attention goes, as the expression goes. If we are fearful of what we are going to experience during an OBE, we are prone to experience our own fears because they are all inside us. If we really understand this, there is nothing to fear. The overlords have no stronghold on us unless we let them. They have no power. They can only strip us of our power if we let them, and we normally do by agreeing with how they want us to view ourselves as limited and fearful beings. This is why it's so important to disagree with them in order to break the walls of this matrix inside ourselves. It's us, not the AIF, who basically prevent ourselves from experiencing the entire us. We shut down our own minds because we believe what we've been told by others, the AIF in this case. Then we tell the same story over and over to ourselves and each other, and the walls inside our minds, preventing us from being our multidimensional selves, become thicker and thicker. To crumble these walls, we need to go back to basics and rid ourselves of all these lies and twists of truth. Once we've done that, we not only stop being fearful of ourselves, which is actually what we are, but we will also be able to set ourselves free. Indeed, in mindful meditation, we train ourselves to get rid of all beliefs and thoughts, and for a moment we can return to an inner core of peace and quiet, where no thoughts even exist. We just are. It's a moment of perfect bliss, and many people have experienced it. In those moments, we are truly one with the divine. The Buddha called it nirvana. Thus, going to other dimensions basically means that we go inside our minds to discover other aspects of us that existed there all along, but we have made them inaccessible to ourselves. We can seek for answers and outcomes in these dimensions, so we can apply them here in the 3D playground. But the way this universe is set up in the third dimension, whether it's the entire 3D universe or this contained matrix the human soul group resides in, what we experience on the inside, we project on the outside to have a common ground. Pondering all this can be very liberating.